Alright, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to introduce our audience. My co-worker Tony.
Hello.
My roommate John.
Hello.
And his lovely girlfriend has agreed to videotape for us today. And a hello to you, Professor. So I'd like to start off today by telling you all a quick story about two similar young men. Both men were captain of their high school football teams. Both were named prom king and later married their high school sweethearts. The first man then followed his father's footsteps and went to work at the Great American Factory. He and his wife bought their first car from his first Christmas bonus, and when he became a father, they moved into a 3-bedroom home in the suburbs and bought a dog named Spot. After 50 years, he retired from the factory, a floor foreman. With his healthy retirement, he lived out his days fishing and playing with his grandchildren. The second man also fathered his father into a Great American Factory. After 5 years, he was laid off during a recession. As money grew tighter and tighter, his relationship with his wife frayed until finally they separated. After moving across the country to stay close to his children, he found a second job in a new factory. The wage was half of what he was making before, but he was thankful to have the work. Within a few years, his job in the factory was shipped to Asia, and he was again laid off. Forced to work as an attendant at a hardware store, he never did have the opportunity to retire. All his spare money was spent traveling to see his children, and he always overspent on Christmas. The difference between the two men: the first man is a myth. A myth we know is the American dream. The second man is reality. Reality I've seen in my own father's eyes a little too often. Eyes that made sure I learned one lesson: that there's a better way. With a roller coaster economy and the state of unemployment in America, especially here in Rochester, the prospect of a better way at times looks grim. However, there is a ray of hope that offers up the promise of a better future. A sector of American companies that offers high-paying jobs, but there is no one around to fill them. As America has grown, its educational system has not grown with it, and the quality of our graduates has seen a steady decline. Students have strayed from math and science to pursue other interests. So how can we correct these problems and take advantage of this sector of the American economy? The answer is to provide NASA with the necessary funding to allow it to operate at peak efficiency by increasing the annual budget from 0.5% to 1% of total U.S. budget expenditures. So what kind of jobs am I talking about here? Well, the types of jobs I'm talking about here are referred to as STEM jobs. And what STEM stands for is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. What makes the field so special today is that in a weakened economy, over the last 3 years, this sector has seen its annual job growth rate at 17%. When compared to the national average of 9.8%, we can see that this is one of the most stable and growing fields in American economy today. Not only is there an increasing number of jobs when compared to the national average, but the salaries are also considerably more than the national average, in some cases reaching up to 26% higher than the national average. In addition to this, Forbes recently stated that there are up to 165,000 unfilled jobs within this sector. So what's the problem? With national unemployment increasing and jobs available, why? Well, the answer is that there's a lack of educated applicants out there. Annually, America graduates 17.5 million degrees in this country. However, 17% of them are considered STEM jobs. This percentage ranks 29th out of 32 developed countries internationally. As of 1975, the U.S. held the #1 ranking in both science and math educations for students leaving high school. As of 2007, those numbers have dropped to 23rd and 26th respectively. Why? The answer is that science and mathematics just aren't cool. And so now we return to my father, who after 10 years and 3 layoffs, and seeing his savings account dip to nothing, he has been forced to move 250 miles from his home to find work. Where has his job gone? It's been lost to outsourcing, and he's not the only one. In the last 10 years, some 3 million American jobs have been shipped overseas. Hit hardest are the fields of automotive, textiles, and pharmaceuticals. The interesting thing to note about these 3 jobs is that at one point they were all considered the cornerstone of American economy. So if these STEM jobs are available, how do we best take advantage of this situation? The answer is to get our children interested in it. And we can do that by reaching out through their favorite media device, cable television. Cable television has access to 126.4 million homes throughout America, and NASA TV is broadcast on every single one of those televisions. With increased funding, NASA would finally have the budgets to attract celebrities such as Justin Bieber, who will appeal to the nation's youth and bring children back to math and science, demystifying it and making it once again a viable option for students. If we are to anchor America's economy within STEM jobs, then we must ensure the field's continued growth. The recent Curiosity Mars lander program, over its 4 years' existence, has created 7,000 jobs in high-tech industries throughout America. At NASA's peak funding in 1968, we saw an increase of 152,000 jobs directly related to NASA research. If NASA today were to be fully funded, and all of its operations were to receive the maximum movement forward, we could estimate that 82,000 jobs would be created directly as a result of NASA's work. When you take into account the support structure needed to support that number of workers, we're talking about convenience store workers, gas station attendants, security guards, parking attendants. The total climbs up to around 200,000 taxable jobs provided for our economy. The last thing is that NASA is the last great bastion of explorers. From the stars to the depths of the ocean, NASA pushes the envelope of the human experience. Curiosity leads to great research in fields that are desperately needed throughout this country. The craft that carried Curiosity to Mars contained 3 new solar panels that increased efficiency by 3%, which is a major accomplishment in this field, where successes are measured in 0.01%. In addition to this, the Curiosity rover was fitted with a nuclear generator. This nuclear generator was the size of an automobile engine. In addition, NASA has made great strides in the fields of communication. Curiosity is being lauded for a new informational data packet transfer system that, compared to the Viking rovers of the 1970s, which took 4 minutes to photograph Mars and send it back to Earth, today Curiosity only requires 30 seconds. These are all grand ideas that would all benefit the country. But in the end, where is this money actually coming from? Well, in 2011, the American budget contained $16 billion in earmarks. And at the end of the day, these earmarks are basically just political favors to help new congressmen get elected. In addition, $15 billion was spent last year on the war on drugs. 80% of that focused on nonviolent marijuana possession and prosecution. Yet despite these great expenditures, we've seen violent crimes increase, underage drug use increase, and the availability of drugs on the streets increase. It's time to spend this money elsewhere. The war is not working, and we need that money. So how is NASA exactly supposed to handle this? Isn't this the same program that experienced a 2/3 failure rate on their Mars missions? Well, that is true. But in 2005, Dr. Michael Griffin took over NASA, and his first act was to remove the motto, faster, cheaper, stronger, from every NASA orifice he could find. Since that point, NASA has experienced a 98.5% success rate on all of their launched missions. Over the 54-year history of NASA, we have seen 1,400 missions and a total of 94% success rate. They've earned this right to lead us into the future. So why don't we just focus this money on education? Obviously, if you put it directly into education, you'll see a direct correlation with an improvement of students. Improved students can then fill the workplace, provide us the taxable jobs that the NASA funding would also provide. We could increase pay for the teaching profession, making it more attractive, attracting a higher caliber of teacher, and a teacher with a greater dedication to succeed. In addition, we could also provide new textbooks to classrooms in the inner city that in some places don't have textbooks at all. In addition, we can provide supplies to school children, who in many places barely even have enough pencils to make it through a day. This focus on education will inevitably cause a return of our national rankings to the top of the pile and make us once again proud in the abilities of our students. However, there is a big problem with this. In fact, it's a $90 billion problem. As estimated by the Washington Post, this is what it would cost the American government to fully refurbish the public educational system. This would not involve simply editing out earmarks and correcting outdated police policies. This would require massive cancellations to the American government in fields such as Social Security and Medicare. These are cuts that the country just can't handle at this moment. In addition, refurbishing the public education system would take years to fully implement, whereas NASA is already running. NASA is already achieving. All they need is our okay to lead us into the future. My father had a dream that I might be able to live a better life than he did. He hoisted me upon his shoulders and told me to reach for the stars. NASA provides the foundation to make those dreams a reality. Not the dreams of my father, but the dreams of every father. So we'll close this with a promise to all fathers who dream, inspired by NASA's motto, for the benefit of all. Together, we will reach the stars.